Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Middle of the Pack Racing League Touring Car Racing Championship for 2022. And tonight marks round number 9 on the 9-round calendar. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the season finale. It has been the case over the last 9 weeks. We have seen all the racing action, well, the last 8 weeks, I should say, and now it has come down to this, the season finale in the 9th week. And of course, our schedule for tonight will consist of the one and only feature race, with the times being as follows in British summertime, that's BST or UTC +1. We'll be getting underway with the one and only feature race at 8:15 this evening, so in just over 14 minutes time, and that'll be a 40-minute race which will bring the curtain down on the series and determine who our champions will be, both in the Japanese Cup and also the overall Drivers' Championship, as well as some other accolades which we will be giving away prizes for. Now, this broadcast tonight being brought to you via one of two media platforms for your viewing pleasure. Firstly, if you are tuning in via twitch.tv, you can tune in via twitch.tv/TX141. Alternatively, if you are a YouTube user, you can tune in via my YouTube channel, and that is TX141TX, or also listed as Paul Walsh on YouTube. And indeed, I am Paul Walsh, your commentator and host for tonight, and I'll be bringing you all the racing action in this finale, and I've covered the action over the last 8 weeks, and my goodness, this series has just kept on giving, whether it be in the Pro Class or the AM Class. It is the case that the racing action has been constant, it's been consistent, it's been fast, and it's been frantic. And whilst we are expecting a rather limited number of drivers to take tonight, given the fact that it is the season finale, and you do occasionally see the numbers of participants drop out to a relative extent, because the season finale, for some drivers, it's the case that they'll feel as though everything is said and done. I can assure you that the drivers taking part tonight have got it all on the line, and Ring Motegi is going to be the circuit which will determine how it all plays out at the circuit, which of course built by Honda back in 1997, Honda's own personal test circuit, and of course the home of the Honda Museum, and recently celebrated its 25th anniversary. And well, what a venue to bring things to a close. And speaking of a close then, let's take you through those standings going into tonight. As we look at the Pro Championship standings, and this is in the overall Drivers' Championship, and we can see it is the case that at this point, Jason Landry goes into tonight the favourite on 163 points there, the best part of 21 points ahead of Austin Farr. But do keep in mind, of course, that it's going to be a drop score. If our drivers have taken part in all 9 rounds, they will be able to drop one score versus those drivers who've taken part in 8 rounds who will not have the opportunity to drop a score, and that is the case that only the best 8 totals are counted for each driver. So right now, it is really the case that all drivers need to get the best possible result tonight, and that is Austin Farr in particular, who will need an absolute miracle by the looks of things to close that gap to Jason Landry. He'll be needing Landry to retire from the race or finish very low within the Pro Class in order to be able to steal away the championship, but you never know what can happen with Henry Morse there in P3 on 114 points as well. And it's not all said and done for Henry Morse, in the fact that on the championship campaign, which has really seen him be the best of the rest, he's only 7 points clear of the trio of Conrad Makow, Vanolst and Tanner Dibble, all 3 drivers there, all battling for P4, and that's going to be a battle we'll need to keep our eyes on tonight, because any one of them could finish in P4 in the championship and potentially snatch away that 3rd place as well if Henry Morse has a difficult day at the races. Rocco Avuff in P7 on 80 points there, only 3 points clear of Jordan Butler, still a point of contention between those two, and also John Low's on there in P9, and in completing our top 10, John Wilding there on 60 points, and he is only 3 points ahead of Eric Nickens. 2 points behind Daniel Daniel in P12, with Tristan Bayliss in P13 on 54 points, and a 10-point gap to Thomas Toomey in P14, with Ben Rose and Adam Day there on 40 and 36 points respectively, completing your Pro Class standings. And in the instant count, remember there is a prize for the driver across both classes. In the case, there's only one prize, and it will go to the driver who has the lowest number of instant points accumulated over the course of the series, and it is the case that they must have raced in at least 8 races, I understand, to be eligible, but it is, we can see there is at this point in time the case that, as I understand it, Jason Landry sits on 26 instant points, and he does have the lowest there. And I think Conrad Makow, whilst he's on 16, he may not be eligible, because I don't think he's done enough rounds, although I could be wrong on that. But if it is the case that Makow has done enough rounds, then, well, on those 16, he is looking very good in that instant count championship. Meanwhile, at the other end, Jordan Butler there on 90 instant points. Well, it's been a difficult season for him in terms of contacts and moments, and he'll be wanting to not increase that tally by the end of tonight. Meanwhile, in the AM class, I can tell you that Duncan Moraes currently leads after picking up that absolutely superb win last time out at what was the Okayama circuit. Much like Jason Landry, Duncan Moraes putting in a stellar performance. And, well, the AM driver here now 9 points clear of Edwin Onofre, who was second place in the end. With both drivers, I think, grateful for the absence of Alberto Alvarez. And I can tell you that Alvarez is not racing tonight either in this season finale. So it is going to be a two-horse race for that battle for the AM Championship win between Moraes and Onofre. And we'll have to wait and see who's going to come out on top. But Moraes does seem to be the favourite in the fact that he has that 9-point advantage. He has been on stellar form in the Japanese Cup round so far, and can Onofre find a way to usurp him at the final curtain? We will have to wait and see. But I can see there is the case that he's not listed at the moment, Duncan Moraes, in terms of the entry list here, and it may be the case that he's experienced some technical issues before he can get to the circuit, which if so, that could mean that Edwin Onofre just needs to finish the race and score well in order to take away that championship crown. We will wait and see there. But Alberto Alvarez on 136 points, so I think safe in P3, but we'll have to wait and see whether Jermaine Warren can close that gap, currently on 105 points, and Fernando Takahashi only 5 points behind there in P5, and the two of them, of course, exchanging places out on circuit on a regular basis. We saw that again at Okayama last time out, and we'll have to wait and see who comes out on top of the two of them. Justin Braggon in P6 there on 80 points, 4 clear of Mark Senegal, and then we do have Danny Kimball in P8 on 72 points, 3 ahead of Craig Parks, and then Tony Tran completing the top 10 on 67 points. 3 points behind him, Albert Brand. He'll be looking to end on a high tonight and sneak his way into the top 10. Stefan Chalafu in P12 there on 59 points, and Lee Porter on 57 points, only 1 ahead of Rodney Felker in P14. Roger Ganesh completes our top 15 with Jackie Chu and Matthew Shepka there, both on 48 points in P16, and it's Auguste Blondel, Patrick Brady and Lucas Lagos who complete our top 20, and then outside the top 20 in the AM class, but not to be forgotten about, Christian Jasper, Jeff Destino and Mason Roach. Meanwhile, when we look at the Instant Count Championship and we look at the AM class drivers here in particular, it is Edwin Onofre there on 17 Instant Count points, and he is looking very good at the moment. Of course, in that battle with Conrad Makow in the Pro class, assuming that Makow is eligible for the potential prize pool, but if not, it does mean that Onofre is a good 9 instant points ahead of Jason Landry going into tonight, and we'll have to wait and see how that does play out. But meanwhile, in the team standings, we can see that whilst there's no prizes up for grabs in the team standings, Delta Motorsports are leading at the moment on 323 points. They do have an advantage, which is not an unassailable one, but it is a good advantage there of what is 17 points to Goldwing Motorsports Pro. The rivalry between the two teams has come down to the wire, but Delta Motorsports do seem to have that advantage, which they continue to hold, and middle of the pack racing there, bringing up the best of the rest on 242 points in P3. DNA there in P4 and 226, and they'll feel secure in P4, and I think it might be a bit of an achievement if they can usurp middle of the pack for P3, but say it's not so, they could potentially do it, and Sunday GT Turtles there in P5 on 169 points. On 153 points in P6, Ascension Racing there, 3 ahead of Goldwing Motorsports AM, but the AM Goldwing Motorsports outfit continues to put in those stellar results. We saw it, of course, at Okayama last time out. Will they be able to get themselves into P6 or P5 by the end of tonight? RMS Racing in P8, Motors P9, and then Street Version on 57 points complete our top 10, with Pan Am Racing P11 only 1 point behind, and then on 38 points still, Arcsim Racing Team in P12, last but not least there. Meanwhile, in the Japanese Cup, of course, we're settling that tonight. This consisting of the points accrued by drivers over round 7 through to 9, so the last 2 rounds plus tonight. Jason Landry in the Pro class here, in the standings for the Pro class, leading on 56 points, 14 clear of Austin Farr, and Jason Landry really has been in a world of his own in the Japanese Cup. He did have an absolute difficult time in the British Touring Car Cup, but it is the case that now on Japanese soil, he's working his Hyundai Elantra very hard and well. Can Austin Farr find a way to come back at him? I think it's going to be very difficult, and I think Farr may have to settle for second, but he'll have to be wary of the fact that Tanner Dibble is putting in a continued string of results on 35 points there, and could Dibble potentially snatch away that P2 from Farr. Sam Vanolst, meanwhile, P4 there, the Audi RS3 driver with that very consistent form, only a point off of Tanner Dibble, and Henry Morse there in P5 on 19 points. He'll be looking to try and hold on to P5 with Conrad Makow only a further 3 points behind, and now a point off of Makow is Ben Rose and Thomas Toomey, the two rivals there, both on 15 points, and they've got Jordan Butler a further point behind, and Rocco Avuff on 13 points, and then we can see unranked there, not having participated so far, Adam Day, Daniel Downing, Eric Nickens, John Wilding, John Lauzon, and Tristan Bayliss there, all on 0. But meanwhile, the complexion in the AM Championship for the Japanese Cup, we can see it is the situation where Duncan Moraes on 51 points here, and well, if he's not able to attend, it is the case that Edwin Onofre here will have that opportunity to snatch away the Japanese Cup from him in tonight's round, in the tonight's season finale, and the fact the gap between the two drivers there, 7 points. points, and well, Onofre is not too far behind, but Duncan Moraes really has been untouchable in round 7 and 8, and we would hope he'll be able to make tonight. Jermaine Warren in P3 there on 34 points, 10 off Onofre, and looking to be the best of the rest there, and Albert Brand only 6 points behind alongside Fernando Takahashi, and the two of them there will be battling out to finish in that P4 slot, if not potentially take away P3 from Warren. Mark Senegal and Stefan Chalafu making up the P6 position there, both on 26 points, and then 2 points behind them. Danny Kimball there, the rivalry between the trio continuing into tonight, with Tony Tran over in only a further 2 points behind. Christian Jasper and Jackie Chu in P10 there on 19 points apiece, with Craig Parks in P12 and 14, and then Justin Brang, the last of our drivers, ranked there in P13 on 13 points, and then unranked, having not participated in the Japanese Cup round so far, Auguste Blondel, Alberto Alvarez, Jeff Destino, Lee Porter, Lucas Lagos, Mason Roach, Matthew Shepka, Patrick Brady, Paul Bacchus, Rodney Felker, and Roger Ganesh. Well, we've talked about our championship standings. Now we look to the season ahead, and we, of course, today is the season finale. We can see right at the bottom there, we're in round number 9. The race actually occurred on Wednesday, the 13th of April, but we're bringing you all the action if it were live today on Friday, the 15th of April, due to timing limitations. And well, it is the case that we have gone through the 8 rounds there. We started in the Americas for the opening 3 rounds, where the racing was fast, it was furious, and it was the case that we did see plenty of action, a lot of elbows out. And those elbows out only amplified in the British Touring Cup from rounds 4 to 6, particularly at Alton Park Fosters, where the very narrow circuit saw our drivers really come into contention. And then, of course, over the last 2 rounds, we started off the Japanese Cup at Tsukuba, then went to Okayama International, the lesser-known Japanese domestic circuit, and we're at Ring Motegi tonight. And as we do look to our circuit tonight, we are using the East Course variant. We're not running the full Grand Prix variant. We're focusing on the East Course variant, and the circuit map provided to us here by simracingwiki.com tells part of the story of this 11-corner circuit, whereby it consists of a variety of sweeping corners, 2 low-speed hairpins, and also some medium-speed sweepers in the run from turn 8, 9 up into 10. But this circuit is all about balancing the car on its nose and particularly getting that best possible exit, with some rather long straights as well, particularly the run out of the final corner at turn number 11, down to turn number 1, down that start-finish straight, and also the extension from turns 4, 5 up towards turn 6, where we may see some overtaking opportunities, and we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out over the course of the racing. As our rules for tonight, given the fact that it is a 3rd round in the Cup, it is a feature race round tonight. Our drive setups will, of course, be the iRacing baseline setup, with that fuel load restricted to 32%, as always, but because it's a feature race, the grid shall be set as a reverse grid based on the Drivers' Championship standings following the previous round, so following round number 8, and the Pro class shall start ahead of the AM class, separated by an approximate 5-second gap. Those drivers who've yet to score championship points shall start from the back of their class to avoid them leaping to the front and potentially stealing away a result, and they'll have to fight their way for it. And we can see the race will start under manual double file rolling start, with the formation being held up to the start-finish line, after which drivers may go racing. We don't go racing at the green, we go racing at the start-finish line. Each driver has 2 fast repairs available. A driver shall receive a drive-through penalty if they pick up 25 or more instant points, and given the fuel load is 32% to start with, there is going to be that mandatory pit stop in which drivers must take on fuel. They can't go to the end on a single tank of fuel. Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, we've talked all about what the rules, the regulations, the championship standings. We now look back to our live pictures here, and right now making his way around on circuit and really looking to secure destiny in the Pro Championship overall and in the Japanese Cup is Jason Landry, as he makes his way here down towards what we believe, unless I'm very much mistaken, in towards turn 6 here as he comes rolling on through. You can see the circuit map in the top right corner of your screen, the timing's out on the left hand side of your screen as well, and the Canadian driver from Delta Motorsports really has been untouchable in the last 2 rounds, and will he be able to make himself untouchable for the 3rd time of asking here? We will have to wait and find out, but I can be sure of the fact that Austin Farr, as we see the Goldwing Motorsports Pro driver here in the Honda Civic Type R, making his way down towards turn number 6 himself, it is the case that he'll be looking to try and cause an upset here tonight, but will he be able to? That is the big question. But meanwhile, we do look to our AM drivers, and of course, Edwin Onofre here, who is our highest-ranked AM driver taking to the circuit. We have got no signs of Duncan Moraes, and I'm actually hearing in my ear right now, I don't think he's going to be able to make tonight's race due to personal circumstances. If that is the case, well, that means that right now you are looking at the Ascension Racing driver, who has every opportunity to snatch away not just the Japanese Cup, but also snatch away the AM Drivers' Championship. He just needs to finish well here today. He'll need to finish within the top 5 as a minimum, minimum in order to get things done. And with 9 AM drivers taken to the circuit, that is looking to be highly possible. We'll wait and see, of course, but Onofre here has a huge opportunity. And, well, we look from him to a bit further down is Orlet and Stefan Chalafu here, the driver who switched to the Hyundai Veloster within the AM class. He'll be looking to try and end his season on high with the Veloster really helping him out in terms of a change of car. It seems to have breathed in a fresh bit of life into his championship campaign. Of course, a good driver in the midfield, and he's really coming alive in the Veloster here in the season finale as he makes his way down the start-finish straight, and we'll have to wait and see whether the privateer can end on a high. As we look to the chats there, and we can see in the YouTube chat in particular, Jason Landry, we say hello to, and also Luigi. Hope you both are doing well, and to all of you tuning in tonight, we hope you're all having a great Friday. And of course, if you're based in certain countries, it is the start of the Easter weekend, and you've probably had a bank holiday to celebrate. And if so, I hope you've had a good start to your bank holiday weekend. As we see Albert Brand here making his way on around as well. And, well, it's going to be the case that we've got some fantastic racing action ahead as we bring the final pre-practice session to a close. It's the warm-up session, and now we get ready to set the grid for tonight's feature race. As all of our drivers now make their way to the grid, and we go racing one final time, and it will be a 40-minute race here at Ring Motegi to see how our championships all conclude. So as the grid forms right now, we won't be able to bring you the walkthrough of the grid straight away, given the fact that we do have that limitation in regards to iRacing replays. Of course, this series being brought to you on the Premier Sim Racing platform of iRacing on the PC. And as we wait for our drivers to go racing here, we can see right at the front of the Pro Class there on that front row will be Thomas Toomey, the privateer in the Hyundai Veloster, and alongside him, unless I'm very much mistaken, that is going to be one Jordan Butler there and the Honda Civic Type R for DNA Motorsport. They will be on your front row and taking us away at the start of this race, as we will have that partial formation lap. It's not a full formation lap. We start on the straight running from turn 5 up towards turn 6. We will have some time to take you through that grid as all of our drivers get ready to go here. We only have 16 cars taken to the circuit tonight, and whilst it is a bit of a depleted grid, we have got all of our major candidates in the stands on the majority of them, and let's see how it all plays out here as the gridding process is complete, and all our drivers will pull away very shortly behind the safety car. And we can see then, as they make their way away, it will be Jordan Butler who starts on pole position for the season finale in the Pro Class, with Thomas Toomey alongside him there in the Hyundai Veloster. Behind them on row at number 2, it is Tanner Dibble, and then it will be Rocco Abuff, the DNA Motorsport driver, being joined by Rocco Abuff for Delta Motorsports. And then behind the pair of them on row number 3 will be the Goldwing Motorsports Pro combination of Henry Morse and Austin Farr, as we see them making their way down underneath the bridge there as they come on through. Both drivers very fierce and very competitive, and it will be Jason Landry on the full throw on his lonesome there for Delta Motorsports, having it all to do tonight to seal his championship campaign. Meanwhile, in the AM class, it will be leading them around 5 seconds behind Stefan Chalafu, who will start us off on what is effectively the 5th row, and he will be joined on that row by Lee Porter here, the privateer being joined by the middle of the pack Racing League driver. And then we will see Albert Brand starting off our 6th row behind the privateer, who is joined by Tony Tran, as we see the Sunday GT Turtles driver making his way on down. And then it will be Craig Parks in the Motorsport Hyundai, and he will be joined on that row by Danny Kimball on row number 6, and behind them it will row number 7, I should say, and then behind them it will be Justin Bragan and Edwin Onofre, the middle of the pack racing driver, being joined by Onofre, of course, the Ascension Racing driver on row at number 8, and then on row. Yeah, it is row number 7. My apologies, getting my numbers mixed up here. And it will be Edwin Offre who starts us off on row number 8 at the very back. But as they get ready to go racing here, well, if you are having some difficulties, folks, we can see in the chat there with the YouTube stream, just remember we are also bringing this to you on Twitch. But I do believe everything's coming through okay for most of them, at least on our side. It may be a YouTube problem, but we are getting ready to go racing here. And, well, it will be the combination of Thomas Toomey and Jordan Butler to take us away for our season finale. The feature race here at Ring Motegi, 40 minutes. Who are going to be our winners come the end of it? Let's find out. And it's lights out and away we go then for the 40-minute feature race as Thomas Toomey looks to get the best possible start, but immediately Jordan Butler trying to accelerate around the outside. The Civic versus the Veloster as they come down to turn number 1. And as they make their way into the braking zone here, you can see that is Henry Morse making his way through the middle, and a bit of contact there already with Tanner Dibble as they make their way through the corner. And, well, I think Morse came in there a little bit strong, and that's cost him a bit dealing with some contact as Dibble was lost out, and behind Austin Farr has got Jason Landry still behind him. Meanwhile, we can see as they've made their way through turn 1 already, Stefan Chalifou's held onto the lead of the AM class, and meanwhile Lee Porter has found his way up into P2, but further back Jermaine Warren's had a major off there, and I believe, unless I'm mistaken, that's Danny Kimball's also been involved. I think the two of the middle of the pack racing lead drivers have come together, but meanwhile it is the case back in the Pro class, coming out of turn 6, Henry Morse side by side with Rocco above here as they make the way up the hill through turn number 7 and through the sweepers very shortly as they come charge on through, looking through the right into left, and as they come through the sweeping section now into turn 8 and then into 9, Henry Morse here not wasting any time in trying to come through as we see that off circuit. That is Tanner Dibble, who's doing a bit of rallycross there, and I do believe Jason Landry in fact had a little bit of an off as well, as he's quite far back from our pro drivers here, and perhaps just simply staying out of trouble and keeping it relatively calm, although I can't see if he's picked up any damage or anything along those lines. But Landry definitely going quite slow and looking to try and get himself back into the race proceedings. But meanwhile, as they come out of the final corner here after the opening lap, we can see it is Jordan Butler leading in the pro class and overall ahead of Thomas Toomey in P2, who's under pressure from the fast charging Henry Morse here in P3 as they make their way down towards turn number 1. There's Rocco up behind for what is Delta Motorsports in P4, followed by Austin Farr P5, then Tanner Dibble a bit further back in P6, and Jason Landry at the rear of the pack in P7. In the AM class, meanwhile, P8 overall, leading the AM class, Stephen Chalifou with a good start, with Lee Porter giving pursuit behind him in P9. Then we've got Edwin Offred in at P10, followed by Craig Parks P11, and then we do have Justin Bragan here at P12, Tony Tran P13, and as they all make their way under the bridge into turns 2 through to 5 once again, Tony Tran being chased by Albert Brand, and then we have Jermaine Warren and Danny Kimball, who had a come in together, the two teammates early on at the start of the race, and it's not worked out for them as they make their way now onto the second lap. But meanwhile, we look back up to our pro class here, and the battling continues with Henry Morse having passed Thomas Toomey into turn number 6, and he made the move up on the inside, and as they come roaring on down in towards turn number 8, here is the case. Okrovasco look up the inside, and he gets the move done there very nicely indeed, and now Austin Farr as he turns one Thomas Toomey there, and it is the case they're just getting a little bit too close on the inside, and that's cost him dearly in terms of pace. Also the stewards will be looking at that, and Thomas Toomey I think will be screaming immediately, well, you didn't need to turn me like that. But it is the case that Toomey's dropped all the way to the back of the pro pack as he now has to try and chase his way back up. The good news is, however, for him is that the pros are fighting quite heavily, and he's not too far behind as he gets himself back up to speed. But meanwhile, further back is the case, we can see that Craig Parks here chasing after Justin Bragan and looking to try and go for that move for P4 in the AM class. As we see in the YouTube chat there, Jason Landry clarifying to us that he had a slowdown penalty. I suspect that's for track limits then, a slowdown penalty which he had to take, and that's why he did have that gap. As we see here, is the case that in the front of the camera we do have Edwin Offred going up the inside of what is Lee Porter here as they make their way into the braking zone for turn 1. Porter being outbroken here by the Ascension Racing driver, and as they make their way out the corner, Edwin Offred making his way up the order. He started at the back of the AM class and he's all the way up into P2 already, and he is wasting no time with the absence of his main rivals. As we see here coming down into turn number 6, well, that is Jason Landry on the outside of what is there Tanner Dibble, and he's going to try and hold the outside line, but Dibble gives him the space. But it's hard to go around the outside at turn 6 because whilst the road surface is a little bit cambered in towards apex, you don't quite have that confidence, you don't quite have that whip to abuse the gearbox. But as they make their way through the side-by-side sequence of 7 and 8, it is the case that Landry holding down the inside to outside, and Dibble is not giving up right now, but Landry will know he's got an inside line coming up into turn number 9, turn number 10 I should say, into the first of the two back-to-back hairpins, and he takes the place. Now will Dibble come back in? That's the question. Dibble is going to come back here using the Audi's great straight line acceleration out of corners, but I think he's a bit too far back to go for a move. We ride on board here with Tanner Dibble as he makes his way through turn number 11. Landry parking on apex. You can see Dibble getting a really good stat back there on what was the apex of the corner, but Landry simply parking on the apex and saying, well, it's all well and good you try and go for that cut back, but you're not going to find a way through it if I give you a face full of Hyundai to deal with. And as they make the way into another lap here, we can see Dibble looking to try and find a way on back. But I think Landry, now that he's cleared Dibble, may start to go for a move further up the orders. We see there Dibble taking a bit too much speed into the opening apex, and as we follow him through on board here, of course we're expecting the road to buck to the left under the bridge because of the Grand Prix circuit, but it's not the case. And as they make the way through right now, it does look as though Dibble losing a bit of time to Landry. But meanwhile, further down the order, we do hear that Albert Brand's had a bit of an off, and he's just rejoined. He was getting quite close to what was Tony Tran at the time, but Brand's had an off, and it has not worked out for him as they make the way on around. as they come charging around right now. I think Brand has got a bit more pace compared to Train. He's probably just overcooked it into turn number 1, I suspect, and that's what I'm hearing in my ears happen. He's overcooked it a little bit, and he'll try and settle down right now and go racing once again. But meanwhile, talking about someone who's not overcooking it right now, is trying to serve up a move. It is Justin Bragan here, who is under a little bit of a move versus not Craig Potts, my apologies, Lee Porter, as he tries to find a way through into turn number 8. He doesn't quite find it in the middle pack racing lead driver, and he has to wait for that opportunity. And as they come down in towards turn number 10, I think Bragan's going to have to wait at this point. Of course, he's racing with his teammate effectively for middle of the pack racing, and that is Lee Porter, and the two drivers will not want to take one off or make any contact with one another at this point in the race, for the simple reason they take one another off. That could be some major points to the team and also to the drivers being compromised. But as they make the way out right now, Bragan definitely looking a little bit faster than Lee Porter, at least on that lap as they come down the start-finish straight. Now we can see there in the chats, we've got quite a number of you tuning in as well. More of you tuning in with Tactical Fajita in the Twitch chat as well. And we've also got Jeeves AC at BC. And we've also got GT Eddie Agraji, as he says, making his way up. And well, indeed, I do think it is the case that trying to find his way up through the order right now. But we do see that with Edwin Offred coming on through here, he's looking after Stefan Shalafu right now. And well, trying to close that gap as much as possible. As meanwhile, Austin Farr here, he's just been under attack from Jason Landry. And Landry finding his way at the inside into turn number 6 as they come through 7. Well, Landry gains another position here as they make their way through 7 and up into 8. Now, will Farr try and come back at him into the sweeping section? I doubt it, because we're hearing that Lee Porter has jumped to the pits. I believe he's had a massive off track, and there may be some damage to the car, which has warranted him to jump to the pits. But as they come roaring on through right now, all of our drivers on this current lap, and we say hello to John Wilding in the Twitch chat as well. It is the case that Austin Farr here losing that position, but not losing a sense of momentum behind Landry. Of course, Farr needed to keep Landry behind him to have a chance of winning the Pro Drivers Championship and also the Japanese Cup here. And well, I think right now this may all be about just seeing whether he can stay with Landry at this point. Perhaps he's playing a little bit of a tactical game here as they make their way down the start-finish straight. As they come roaring on down here and they go on to what for them is a lap number 6. We can see it is the case that a bit further back, Albert Brand, I think he's had a bit of a slowdown there versus Jermaine Warren, who's picked up the place on him. So I think it is one of those situations whereby drivers picking up slowdowns for cutting corners or running off track and gaining a time advantage. And of course, iRacing automated to warrant that to our drivers as they make their way on through. And as they make their way down onto another lap here, these AM drivers, including one Jermaine Warren, also Albert Brand and Tony Tran at the rear of the picture. No change between the two of them right now, but I can tell you one thing that has changed here, and well, it is going to be a bit of an obvious change. That's Rocco Havav, who has just been passed by Jason Landry. And if you're thinking at this point, well, why did Havav not put up a battle there? Well, they're both racing for Delta Motorsports. Landry's livery may make it look like he's not part of Delta Motorsports, but for this league he is, even though he's recently joined Team Vector. And it is the case that the two Delta Motorsports drivers, they will not want to step over the top of one another. They will want to work together. And particularly Havav's goal will be to make sure that Austin Farr cannot find a way through. And with them both being in the Honda Civic Type R here, this will now be a test of Austin Farr's pace in the car versus Horvath, because equal machinery, it all comes down to the driver as they make their way down the back straight run here up towards turn number 11 as they come on through. We're hearing that Justin Bragan has jumped to the pits as well for an off-track and damage to the car, and in fact Edwin Onofre here has had a major off. Now, I'm not sure where this has happened, but he's dropped down to P10 overall. That's P3 in the AM class here, and well, he doesn't need to have any offs right now. If things were to finish as they are, as I understand it, he would be classed your AM Drivers Champion and also your Japanese Cup Champion. So he just needs to keep his head down here and not doing anything silly. But I think he'll be settling down and looking to go racing once again. We're only just coming up to the first 10 minutes complete, and while our AM drivers are a little bit spaced out in terms of gaps, but meanwhile we do look all the way up towards turn P at number 6 right now, and we can see Tanner Dibble here, the DNA Motorsport driver, as he makes his way out of turn number 5 and down towards turn 6. Well, he will be closing up very gradually to the back of Farr and Havath, and you can see already how Austin Farr is being boxed in a little bit here as Jason Landry is already 1.5 seconds up the road, and we ride on board here with Tanner Dibble as he plays in the popcorn seat. He plays that spectator role of watching the two Honda Civic drivers go to toe, and he'll be looking to close up as soon as he can to get involved, of course, because it could be an opportunity for him to snatch P4 off a pair of them. Now rolling through the sweepers here, this is where the Audi can struggle a little bit compared to its peers is through the sweeping corners, but it is the case that Austin Farr, they're looking for the move up the inside of Rocco of as we jump to the external cameras, and well, he's got the inside there coming through turn number 10. He went for it, he carried the momentum very nicely, but Arvaf pulling into the pits there, interestingly enough, and he's coming in only 10 minutes in. So is it the case that Arvaf feels that he can potentially undercut on fuel massively? Well, if he's going this early, we normally see the pit stops somewhere in the region around 15 to 30 minutes into the race. I say that again, 15 to 30 minutes. We see some drivers in the past do absolutely huge overcuts, or just going long as they used to call it in the old days, but now it is the case that Austin Farr, well, he's been released, and can he make this work as Rocco Avarth comes out the pit exit? I do wonder whether in fact the fact that he's come out so quickly here, whether that was essentially a penalty rather than him going for a pit stop, because he makes his way on down. It is the situation where Rocco Avarth is all the way down in P8 overall. And meanwhile, we look to the leader of the race as Jordan Butler making his way around the DNA Motorsport driver here. And, well, it has been the case. This lead has exchanged hands. And as he makes his way through turn number 7 right now, looking very smooth. Henry Morse, by comparison in terms of lap time, currently 6-1 on that last lap, 0.6 of a second faster. But it could be the case that Jordan Butler settling in here for the long haul. We do know that the Honda Civic is the race car compared to its peers. When we talk about the Audi RS3, the Hyundai Elantra, the Hyundai Veloster, and also the Honda Civic Type R, it's not quite the one-lap pace car, but it does seem to have that prowess in terms of car management. And as they make their way out of turn 10 and down towards 11, we can see peeling into the pits there. That's Henry Morse coming in. So I'm wondering here whether some drivers have really picked up a lot of instant points already, which if so, with some sort of penalty, that is going to be a bit of a shock to the system. We'll have to wait and see, as we have had the 2 retirements of Justin Braggon and Lee Porter. As we see here, it is the case that Butler going on to what is for him at lap number 9, but look who's coming up behind him here. Very fast, and I think Morse is serving a full pit stop, so it is going to be the case that Morse is taking on the fuel to go to the end. And well, with that, we can see Butler having to absolutely push it right now, because with Landry, and Landry that last lap half a second faster, we will wait and see. Oh, goodness me, and Butler there. Well, that looks as though the rear was stepping out a little bit as he made his way through 4. I think he is really pushing that car right now. As he pushed it too hard, we'll have to wait and see. But I do think the DNA driver here sees the opportunity to at least be on the podium come the end of tonight, if not be the race winner, and he will not want to lose out on that, because that would be a huge result in the season finale. But as he comes through at turn number 7 here, well, just looking very smooth right now that he settled it back down. But we will wait and see as he comes into the corner, and oh goodness me, he's pushing it again, and the rear has stepped loose into turn number 8, and Butler, well, hopefully avoids the wall. He's avoided the gravel, but now he's got a very long way to go to come back onto the circuit, and Butler just pushing it a bit too hard coming through turn number 8, and he rejoins right into the middle of the battle of Toomey and Dibble as they make their way out of 9 and into 10. And Butler, well, I think he was hoping to hold on to that lead for a bit longer, and under his own impetus he has taken it away and put himself in P5, but he's still got plenty of battling to go, with Thomas Toomey literally there right in front of him as we ride on board the gearbox here of the privateer. And as he rolls on through at turn number 11, it is one of those situations whereby I think Toomey at this point will be thinking to himself, you know what, now I've got a little bit of pressure to deal with. But as they make the way down the start finish straight here, this Hyundai Veloster looking very sharp in terms of straight line acceleration, it has to be said, versus that Honda Civic. And as they roll on through into the opening corner, you can see Toomey there taking a much wider entry line by comparison with Butler. Very interesting to see the different approaches from drivers here. I think Toomey trying to carry a bit more momentum into the corner. As we look from them to the fact we do still have Stefan Chalafu as our leader in the AM class here. And to be fair, Chalafu right now, he is the best part of what is, I would say, doing a quick bit of mental math, 14 seconds ahead of second place man in the AM class, and that's in Edwin Onofre. He is doing very well, Chalafu, right now, but Onofre by comparison, similar lap times, and I think the Ascension Racing driver here has been making some more passes. He's recently passed Craig Parks for this P9 position overall, P2 in the AM class, and you can see Craig Parks there tucked in behind, and now with a lot of clear space out on circuit, he's got 4.8 second gap to Rocco Avarth. Will we see Onofre here go on the offensive? And I can confirm to you as well, ladies and gentlemen, that pit stop from Rocco Avarth was not a penalty pit stop, it was a fuel stop. It was a scheduled stop. He has put the fuel in the car, much like Henry Morse, and they're trying to go to the end after that one stop. But as they make the way on around right now, Onofre will be worrying, I think, about the fact, could Craig Parks come back at him? Well, we'll have to wait and see as the race moves out to its 15th minute and into its 16th minute right now. plenty of racing time still to go as an Offred continues to crusade after Chalafu. But meanwhile, we look from him down to the back of the field right now of our runners, and we can see here Danny Kimball in the middle of the pack racing the driver, I think, with some damage on the car due to an earlier incident with his teammate. I think that was Lee Porter at the time, unless I'm very much mistaken. He had the contact with, but Kimball soldiering on here and looking to bring the car home in what is P7 in the M class, P14 overall. But of course, anything can happen. We are not even halfway through the race yet. But speaking of anything that can happen right now, we can see right in this sandwich pack here, well, at the front of it, that is Austin Farr. This is the battle for P2 in the Pro class here. They're all coming together, P2 through to P5. And we can see it's the case that Dibble having to go defensive here into turn number 6. That's going to cost him a lot of momentum as he accelerates out the corner. But you can see in return to me there, deciding to take a bit too much exit curb. And as a result, taking a bit of grass with him for good measure as all 4 drivers roll the way up into the sweeper section. And, well, in this situation, the nice thing for Austin Farr is, of course, that if he is able to put some pressure on Tanner Dibble in terms of backing him up into Toomey, that could enable him to open up a huge gap in terms of that P2 position. But all 4 drivers really close together. And meanwhile, talking about battles in the Pro class, Rocker off down in P8 overall here. That's P7 in the Pro class. He's hunting after Henry Morse just in front of him. These two, of course, having pitted recently. They are the first 2 drivers to take that pit stop, and, well, they are nose to tail as they make the way into turn number 10. Now, of course, the Audi, in the hands of Henry Morse, has that accelerational capability, and that can be exploited very nicely versus the Honda CRF, closing up through the corners and those braking zones very rapidly indeed as they make the way through the right-hander at turn number 11. But right now, it does look as though Henry Morse seems to have an answer there for everything that Haraf can do, but we'll wait and find out as they make the way on to what is their 12th tour of the circuit under race conditions. And as they come down to the braking zone this time, they also are closing up on Stefan Chalafu. And the problem, of course, for the AM leader is if this battle gets to him and they start to try and find their way past him, that could cost him massive time versus Edwin Offre here. We can see Offre making his way out to turn 1 already, and as he comes under the bridge here, he is gradually closing up to Chalafu. That last lap on Offre took 6 tenths out of Chalafu, and Chalafu will not want to lose that lead even more rapidly because the 2 pros who don't seem to want to settle for position as they make the way through. But meanwhile, coming down into turn 6, Haraf's going to try and go around the outside, but Morse goes very late on the brakes on the inside here. It's side-by-side exiting out the corner, and, well, Henry Morse just using that torque of the Audi to stay ahead for the time being. But as they roll them through turn number 7 and make their way up towards the sweepers, you can see Haraf trying to go outside to inside. He's covered off by Morse here as they make the way through turn number 8. They roll them through the left-hander into the right-hander. There's no change, I can tell you, in the battle for P2 in the Pro class. We focus still on the battle for P6 in the Pro class as into the pits come Tanner Dibble and Jordan Butler. As I look at my commentary box window, they've decided to come in, and I think it's an attempt at early pit stops here. I think they are worried about these two, the fact they've gone for those early pit stops, and could it be the case that Haraf and Henry Morse jump the pair of them? We will wait and see. But remember, these two have been squabbling. They're also caught behind Chalafu, and Stefan Chalafu here, who's absolutely innocent in all of this, you could argue, in the fact that he's not involved. Well, it is going to be the case that Henry Morse and Rocco Above come out ahead of Tanner Dibble and Jordan Butler as they make the way down the start-finish straight on towards turn number 1. And, well, where are Dibble and Butler? Well, there is Tanner Dibble, and then behind him there is Jordan Butler, the 2 DNA drivers, as they make their way down into the first corner. And that is now the gap, 4.3 seconds between them and Harafa and Henry Morse as they make the way onto another lap. And you can see tucked in behind them is Edwin Offre. As meanwhile, I think we've had a brief off or a bit of a mistake from Henry Morse because he has dropped back considerably from Rocker Avaf. And it is the case the Delta Motorsports drivers gained another position. As meanwhile, in that distant camera shot there, lovely camera shot, we can see Edwin Offre there coming on past Jordan Butler, who seems to be going a little bit slowly. I think he's had a little bit of an error there. And I think Butler's trying to get himself back up to speed as they make the way underneath the bridge. Now as they come into the sweeping section, meanwhile, we can see it is the case that Chalafu is being passed now by one Rocker Avaf. And to be fair, Chalafu's actually been quite smart with where the pass has been made. He's let it be made into turn at number 8, and he hasn't lost too much time because he simply rolled the car on the natural racing line and let Haraf take that inside line. It will cost him about half a second overall in terms of pace, but Chalafu being smart about when to let the pro driver through, and that could work out for him in the long run here, because Onofre now has to deal with the fact he's got two pros in front of him who are more interested in squabbling over position than they are about trying to let him through to go hunting after the AM leaders. We hear that Jermaine Warren is into the pits. Now, as our drivers make their way on through, and we're hearing that, in fact, that it's Butler who picked up a slowdown. That's why we saw him slowing down in the run from 5 to 6. So he turns 5 to 6 as they make their way down towards turn 1 this time. Henry Morse back ahead of Tanner Dibble. And as they come down to the braking zone here, we reach the halfway point of the race as they now make their way underneath the bridge. Of course, that bridge formulating part of the oval circuit that runs over the top of this portion of the circuit. But as they make their way through the sweeping section of 2, 3, 4 and 5, it is Henry Morse who is feeling that pressure as Jermaine Warren makes his way out of the pits. And, well, where is Warren? He comes on out, and Danny Kimball just gets ahead there. Jermaine Warren falling to the back of the field, and Kimball pushing on here, but he's yet to take his mandatory pit stop, and that will, of course, be on his mind. He will eventually have to relinquish that position as he chases after Tony Tran just in front of him. But as we have reached the halfway point of the race, it's only fair that we do give a quick summary of our race order. And we can see that right now leading this race, but yet to make his mandatory pit stop, is Jason Landry here from Delta Motorsports, soldiering on 6 seconds ahead of Austin Farr here, who is in what is now just a two-way battle for P2 between Austin Farr from Goldwing Motorsports and Thomas Toomey, the privateer behind him, as they make their way on to another lap. They've both yet to pit. Rocco Buff, meanwhile, in a P4 in the Pro class and overall, and he has already pitted. That undercut that he used, along with Henry Morse, has given him the ability to jump ahead of Tanner Dibble and also Jordan Butler. As we see into the pits comes Stefan Chalafu from the lead of the AM class. He came in from P5, and then behind him, and they'll be taking his place shortly, is Henry Morse there from Goldwing Motorsports Pro. And, well, he's battling for P5 versus Tanner Dibble. As we see Dibble here tucked in behind. Of course, these two pitting together. They were in that battle for P2, and they seem to be continuing to squabble over places. As meanwhile, behind them is Edwin Offra here for Ascension Racing, now your AM class leader, but he's yet to make his mandatory pit stop. And, well, Edwin Offra here looking to wrap up the AM Drivers' Championship and also the Japanese Cup with the absence of Duncan Moraes and also Alberto Alvarez. He just needs to finish, and will right now, if he could pick up the win or second place, that would be a guaranteed championship and cup for him. As Chalafu has come out the pits and all the way at the back here. Chalafu, I think something's gone wrong in the pit lane there. Perhaps he's put a bit too much fuel in, because he has dropped a long way down the order, and, well, he was putting in very good pace, and he's right at the back of the AM class. And we will come back to the rest of the AM class very shortly as we do look to Jordan Butler, who we can see here, the DNA driver. He was leading in the Pro class for a brief while until a mistake at this very corner where the rear of the car started to step out, and we can see there just a bit of an unsettled car there on turning, almost as if the car doesn't want to turn into the corner. A bit of forced understeer, and as he makes his way through 9 and up into 10, Butler right now, well, he's trying to get this Honda Civic on through because he could still pick up some good points. He has made his pit stop, and we'll wait and see. But meanwhile, Craig Parks P9 overall, P2 in the AM class, but remember, he's yet to pit the Motors driver as he makes his way down towards turn number 11. And he is being pursued by Albert Brand, who is the best part of 15.8 seconds behind him as they make their way through. He's P3 in the AM class, P10 overall, as he makes a little bit of a lock up there into turn number 10. And then we do have Tony Tran at P4 in the AM class, P11 overall, and he's being chased by Danny Kimball. Kimball has been closing on him ever since a very difficult start to his race where he had an off in the opening corners, and Kimball into the pits, in fact, and, well, he will release Chalafu there upper position as he makes his way on in. And then, well, we do see Chalafu here as they come through the right hand. But as they roll them through, we have had 2 retirements in this race, and that is Justin Braggan and Lee Porter, both retiring early on. And I should point out that Jermaine Warren, who we didn't mention there, is in P12 at the moment, P12 overall, and that is P5 in the AM class. And he has pitted, so Jermaine Warren, after that difficult start to the race as well, he is now finding his way up the order in rather rapid form. Not quite the pace of our AM leader, Edwin Offret, alternatively the pace of what we're seeing from Craig Parks, but still putting in some good laps compared to the drivers around him. And right now, his pace would be good enough for P3 in the AM class if he's able to find his way out to Albert Brand and Tony Tran after their pit stops, which will give him that Tran's right in front of him. I think he doesn't have to worry about passing Tran. If he can't pass Tran on circuit, Tran will have to pit, and he'll gain the position in short order. But as they make their way on around here under the bridge, Warren is going to look for the move as they come through 7. Now, it's going to be difficult going around the outside here. What he's trying to do is set up a run to the inside of 8. If he can get it done, he's going to have to snatch the car on the brakes here, and Tran gives him the space to play for it. The Sunday GT Turtles driver there not putting up a fight. I think Tran knows he's not in a battle with Warren for position because he's yet to pit. Warren has. And I think that's some smart racing from Tony Tran to know this is not your fight. Instead, his fight is going to be with Danny Kimball, who right now is 26 seconds down the road as he makes his way up towards turn number 11. Will he pit this time? No, he stays on out once again. But meanwhile, we look from the AMP drivers up to our closest battle in the Pro class, and it's Thomas Toomey versus Austin Farr as we ride on board with the Hyundai Veloster driver here, the privateer, who's trying to get P2 off the Goldwing Motorsports Pro driver as they come into turn 8. And you can see the difference there in terms of braking. Toomey braking much later into the corner compared to Farr. And I think Farr is protecting the brakes and the tyres in the car. Toomey, I think, has said, to hell with this, I'm going for it, I want that P2, as they make the way through turn number 10. Now, Jason Landry is into the pits, and these two have yet to pit as well. Will we see them both dive into the pits going into the right? I don't think so this time. They both stay out here, so they will go a place up on Jason Landry, and that will mean that Austin Farr becomes your race leader for a brief period of time. Well, we'll have to wait and see whether Landry will retake the lead of this race when all is said and done. He did have a sizable gap before he pitted, but if he comes out in traffic or he has a slow pit stop, that could upset the apple cart. But I think for Landry here, as they make the way down towards turn 1, you can see Landry, they're coming out the pits already. He's cleared pretty much the majority of the Pro class. He's got nothing to worry about. In fact, he's come out in P3, and the fact that he's only 10 seconds off of Toomey and Farr, I think for Landry here is a case of when, not if, he's going to retake the lead of his class when Farr and Toomey make their pit stops. But as he makes his way back up to speed right now, he's yet to pit. The AM leader, Edwin Offray here, we suspect he will pit very shortly. We'll wait and see. But meanwhile, we look back to the battle for the Pro lead here as it intensifies into turn 6. Toomey trying to go for the move around the outside there versus Austin Farr. And as they make the way under the underpass, it is the case that as they come into turn 7, well, Toomey's going to try and stay on that outside to inside line through 7 up into 8. You can see there, he pulls the car as close as he dares to Farr. He wants to try and force Farr to stay on the outside. They make the way to turn 9. A bit of door rubbing there with Farr saying, yep, you can squeeze me and I can squeeze you too, as they make the way down towards turn number 10. And as they come into the braking zone for the first of 2 hairpins, you can see Toomey trying to fake a move. He was never close enough to make it, but drivers do like to try and get their nose down that inside as close as they can in order to try and say to the driver in front, look, I'm actually going to go for a very late lunge here, and then they understeer wide or they forget their braking point entirely. And as they make the way out of the final corner here, Toomey definitely looking fighting as they go on for another lap. But of course, every time they battle, they lose time to the Pro drivers who've already pitted, and as Jason Landry and Rocco have after the first of our 2 Pro drivers who have pitted as they make the way on down. Here are leaders in towards turn number 1 once again. As they come down into the braking zone this time, as we also say hello there in the Twitch chat to GT Eddie, just taking a quick look over into the chat. Don't think we said hello to you, and we hope you're doing well. It is the case that right now Toomey in that hot pursuit. Well, will he be able to find a way on through? I think he's going to have to try and find another way, because everything he seems to have thrown at the situation so far has not worked out. But we'll wait and find out, as we are hearing that Tony Tran and Craig Parks have made their way into the pits. Well, less so Tran, in fact, more so Craig Parks has come into the pits. He's left the pits. Now, with Craig Parks coming on out here, the Motus driver, where is he going to come out is the question. Well, Albert Brand has just come on through, who's yet to pit. So Craig Parks is going to come out in P3 in the AM class at the moment, with Jermaine Warren not too far behind. Warren's going to have the run here. Will he have enough? I don't think so. He's not got enough of a speed advantage. So that means that if Parks can get himself back up to speed rapidly enough, then he's going to be back out in what is effectively P2 in the class when Brand pits. And now Jermaine Warren, who's put in an absolutely Goliath recovery drive here. Will he be able to find a way past Craig Parks for what will be P2 in the class in the end? As Onofre, well, we believe it is going to be the case that when he pits, given he has got an advantage over Parks of in the region of 32 seconds, I think Onofre is going to be very comfortably coming out ahead of these drivers. We will wait and find out. As meanwhile, Tony Tran there, well, he was on the inside defending versus Kimball, and Kimball has just come on through like a fire streak as he makes his way down towards turn number 2 here. Or if I flash it, it's just one of those situations where Kimball is building up that pace at a very rapid rate. As they make the way on around right now, it is the case that we do look back up to what is Craig Parks here as they come through the corners, and as they make the way up towards turn number 10. Well, if Parks can hold on here versus Warren, then it's going to be one of those situations whereby Warren is going to be feeling a bit uncomfortable as they come down towards turn number 11 and that braking zone, of course. And as they come on through this time, what can Warren throw at the Hyundai driver in front of him? Well, I think he's got to try and hope that Parks has pushed a bit too hard on those tyres early on. The tyres are going to fall off in those final 5 minutes. Of course, we know those tyres do wear down quite rapidly if they're not protected, and you can see as they make the way down the start-finish straight here down towards turn number 1. Warren looking for that opportunity once again, but not quite close enough to look for into turn 1. as we ride on board here with the Honda driver. He gets a much better exit out of 1, and that does put Parks on a wide line into 2. I think Parks is feeling a little bit out of rhythm here as they make their way through 3, up into 4, 5, and I think Parks is just starting to feel the pinch of tyre wear, because now Warren has got the run here. Now where will Parks put the car? He puts on the racing line. He doesn't defend it. He's going to try and outbrake Warren into turn 6, and Warren in the end just not able to outbrake Parks, and indeed Parks goes deep into the corner. He's going to lose a lot of momentum as Toomey and Farr into the pits. We'll take a look at them shortly, but right now Warren in that pursuit as Jason Landry retakes the lead of the race overall and in the Pro class. But meanwhile, we do look from this battle for P3 in the AM class to our leader and the battle for P2, and you see Rocco Buff has come out in P2 when all was said and done with that massive undercut. Henry Morse winning P3, and there is Toomey, Farr, and coming between them is Dibble there, as Dibble's able to take one of them but not both of them, and this is not the way that Austin Farr will have wanted that overcut to work out. It has not worked out at all, as into the pits also comes Edwin Offra. In fact, he's leaving the pits, and he's going to leave the pits. The leader of the AM class still, Albert Brand, is into the pits as well, and right now we can see that Dibble, where he's been able to put himself between the two drivers battling for P4 in the Pro class. And I think this has worked out very nicely for him as they make their way on down into turn number 6. Meanwhile, I can confirm that after the pit stops, it is Craig Parks and Jermaine Warren who are now battling for P2 in the AM class. It's the case that Chalafu is in P4 with Albert Brand in the pits in P5. And Craig Parks goes wide there. He's lost a lot of momentum. And as they make their way through turn number 2, Parks is going to have to defend into 3. He's got no momentum whatsoever. And Jermaine Warren is up into P2 and now making his way down towards turn number 6. Here, and Warren is making this recovery effort absolutely work out for him in the end. He is now only 1 place off the lead of the AM class, but it's the fact he's now got a 12-second gap to Edwin Offred. He's got to close down in less than 9 minutes. Now, he can make miracles happen, but I think that's pushing it a bit too far, unless an Offred makes a major error. We'll have to wait and see as they come through. But meanwhile, looking from them to the battle up in the Pro class, I can tell you that it is the case as they go on to another lap here. Look at this long train of Pro drivers. It is Henry Morse at the head of the pack. He does have an advantage of 1.6 seconds over Thomas Toomey, and then behind that is Tanner Dibble as we ride on board the gearbox here of Thomas Toomey, and he's trying to hold on to P4. As they make their way through, you see in the rear of your picture there, that was Jordan Butler with what was a lockup, a lot of brake dust smoke being kicked up on the front right brake, and he's only 1.7 seconds off of this battle for P4 in P7 in the Pro class. But Toomey right now trying to find a way to stay ahead of Dibble and Farr, and they are closing all the way round the lap. And I think where Toomey's got it to work is the fact that, well, with the Veloster, it's got a lot of acceleration, and also it's really smooth through that opening sector. But as soon as they make their way across the sector line for sector 1 and in towards turn 6, that's where the momentum turns as they make their way into turn number 8 here. And as they come on through at the left into right, coming through the sweepers, this is where the other cars really seem to thrive, as Toomey now has got to think about that gap getting closer and closer as they come on down into turn number 10. But as they roll on through the left-hander here, it is the situation whereby I think Toomey's going to be looking more and more behind him rather than looking ahead of him to Henry Morse, who's only 1.4 seconds up the road as they make their way into the turn 11 hairpin. And Austin Farr, he's right at the back of all this. We ride on board with the Goldwing Motorsports driver, who he did not want it to go wrong, and it's gone so wrong in terms of the strategy. He's come out right at the back of a very hungry pack of drivers, and as they make their way down to turn 1, you can see Dibble looking for that move up the inside and also covering off what is Farr, and he looks at that move, he's not quite close enough, but he intimidates Toomey enough, and in the end Toomey's going to make a mistake of going wide. They're side by side going through 2, Toomey's offline as Farr's going to have to try and go around the outside into 3, he's trying to follow Dibble through, and he's got it done. Now can Toomey come back at him? That's the question as they make their way out turn number 5 and down towards 6. I don't think so. I think Toomey in now, that was a very odd moment in the fact that Toomey, I think, had it all covered in turn number 1, and then Dibble just said, you know what, I'm going to dare to dream. If I really go for that apex, will it upset Toomey's balance? And in the end, Toomey, I think, saw Dibble coming and thought, oh goodness me, he's coming in really hot, I'm going to have to open the steering wheel, and in return he lost all momentum. Dibble saw the space, used the acceleration of the Audi, and then Austin Farr simply said, well, if you two can't decide who wants to be the leader coming out the corner, then I'm going to try and follow through the one of you who makes it out there first. And Farr Farr has come through versus what is Tanner Dibble as they make their way into turn number 10 right now with 6 minutes to go. But these three are all still squabbling for P4 in the Pro class. And now it is Tanner Dibble who has to worry about Austin Farr, who's right behind him. This is the closest battle on circuit, and we're going to stay with it for the time being as they make the way on through, if you don't mind, ladies and gentlemen, because right now these three are all battling for just outside the podium, but you could tell how much it means to them, with Henry Morse only 1.8 seconds up the road at the front of the camera. He just passes under the camera now and will lead all other chance to go after the podium finisher if he does finish on the podium, of course. But it is one of those situations right now where I think Dibble worrying more about what's behind him than in front of him, and you can understand why, because Austin Farr, who really has been the runner-up in the Japanese Cup, he will not want to finish P5. He will want to finish higher than this in the season finale as he makes his way through turn 5 and up towards 6 once again. As they come down, we're hearing the Stefan Chalafu into the pits once more. I think it's gone wrong for the Hyundai Veloster driver as he comes on in. I wonder if there's been a bit of an underfuel, a bit of a mistake with the pit stop, but he comes on in regardless. Let's go drop him down a bit further, though. Danny Kimball is 30.5 seconds back, so I don't think Chalafu's going to have to worry about this man in terms of it's a short stop. He should be okay. We'll have to wait to see as Kimball's just made his way through turn 10 right now. But meanwhile, we look from them back to Austin Farr and Tanner Dibble battling for that P4. We focus on Dibble here, and of course the Audi very aggressive on its tyres. And we can see the DNA driver struggling a little bit there to hold those apex lines through turns 8 and 9 as they roll through 10. I think Dibble now starting to feel the pinch of tyre wear. Now, it's not long to go in this race, of course, as in fact Chalafu's still in the pits, and that has enabled Kimball and Tran to come through. I think Chalafu's got a technical issue with the car. I cannot foresee that Chalafu is coming back out anytime soon, as they're having to do a lot of work on that car. And right now, as they make their way down the start-finish straight here, Dibble, Farr and Toomey in that battle for P4 in the Pro class. Well, there's no attempt to move, or is there, from Austin Farr this time? No, he's not going to dare to do what Dibble tried. It's going to be one of those situations where I think Farr's going to have to try and do it another corner on the circuit and get a really good run to go for that move, because that Audi just so strong in terms of accelerating out of the corners, and that is what the Honda Civic does not pride itself on, is straight line acceleration. It is more of a braking and tyre preservation car. It's not about its acceleration as they make their way down through turn number 5 and up towards 6. Now as they come through, I can tell you that Chalafu has come out of the pits, albeit he's now down in P14. That's P7 in the AM class. He's lost out on what was a guaranteed top 5, and he's now 20 seconds off of Albert Brand. He is the last of the runners out on circuit, as now with 3.5 minutes to go plus the final lap, really all seems to be settled and done in the AM class, and it's now the big question of who's going to finish P4 in the Pro class as they make their way through 8 into 9. And well, Toomey, after that moment where he was P4 moments ago, 2 laps to go, and it all went a bit wrong into turn number 1, and now can the privateer try and come on back? Well, with 3 minutes to go here, if he's going to go for it, I think if he's waiting for something to happen, a miracle to happen, there it is, with Austin Farr going a bit wide, and Toomey follows him, and I think Farr there was holding the inside line when he returned to the circuit, thinking that Toomey would try and send it, but in the end he wasn't close enough, and Farr just simply goes back up to speed here, and Toomey continues to watch. And I think what Toomey's hoping for is that Farr will put enough pressure on Dibble for the two of them to have a little bit of a side-by-side moment, potentially take one another off here. I think Toomey's been a little bit too patient with this. I think he does need to try and find a way to start to get his nose in there. Even if he can only take the 1 place, I think it's going to be worth it, because Farr, with a rare mistake, is comfortable as he gets himself back up to speed, and they make their way underneath the underpass there of turn number 2 and in towards 3, 4 and 5. But as they come through, and Chalafu into the pits again. I do think there's something wrong with the Hyundai Veloster, and we hope not to lose Chalafu just before the end of the race. That would be a shame. Well, I'm not sure if he'd be classified given the amount of race distance he's done. But whilst these guys are battling for what is P4, we do look to the front of the Pro Pack, and Jason Landry here, well, he's 6.6 seconds clear of Rocco Haraf, his teammate, and there's going to be no concern about Haraf trying to push it hard in or close up to him here. They know at Delta Motorsport what the priority is, and it's for this man to bring home this win so he can take home the Pro Drivers' Championship and also the Japanese Cup. And it is looking as though it has been a perfect day at the office as he closes up to the back of Danny Kimball here as they make the way down towards turn number 11. Now Kimball will have the blue flags waving. Rocco Haraf, meanwhile, in that P2 position as he makes his way himself down towards turn 11 and looking very comfortable. But it's Henry Morse in that P3, who right now only has a 1.6 second advantage over Dibble. He's been trying to close up to Rocco Haraf, but Haraf, he has closed up to a rate of approximately 3 to 4 attempts a lap, but it's not enough here, given the fact that we are now on to the final lap. The next time we come to the start-finish line, as we see the white flag waving there, it will be the checkered flag. It will be the final checkered flag that we see, and now the gloves are surely going to come off in this battle for P4 in the Pro Class as Dibble here tries to hold on for one more lap versus Austin Farr and Thomas Toomey. Toomey has fallen back a little bit, but I think he's waited in the wings to see whether the elbows come out and go a bit too far here. It's all now tired cars, tired tyres, tired brakes, tired legs and arms, and who is going to have the reserve energies? Dibble has to go defensive here as they make the throw. I think it's a slowdown for Dibble for track limits, and I think that's going to take away what was the potential battle, and that is a shame because that is a slowdown there for what is Dibble for track limits at turn number 2, and Austin Farr takes P4, and now he's just got to hold off Thomas Toomey for half the lap. As they make it's Austin Farr with a slowdown as well. There's drama at the last possible moment here, but we have to cut from them, unfortunately, to our race leader as I think he's slowing down a little bit here. Is there a fuel problem for Jason Landry here, or is this to try and get a team photo? I do wonder, but as he makes his way down towards the final corner, it has been a flawless race. He found his way through the pack, and as he rolls on through the final couple of corners, I think it is the team photo here. He's going to be not just your winner, but your Pro Drivers Champion and your Japanese Cup winner in the Pro Class. Jason Landry takes the win at Ring Motegi after 40 minutes of racing with Rokarov off P2. It will be Henry Morse P3 in the end, and it will be Thomas Toomey who comes home P4 just ahead of Tanner Dibble. And we can see that Austin Farr, I think, he's not going to be racing the car anymore, has decided to get rid of one of the wheels on it, P6, Jordan Butler P7, and as he makes his way down to the final corner here, Ascension Racing's Edwin Offray has had a brilliant race, and in the absence of his rivals, he's nailed it today, and that will make him, as we understand it, your Drivers' Champion in the AM Class of 2022 and your Japanese Cup winner, I believe, subject to confirmation. A fantastic drive for an off-way there. It will be Jermaine Warren who, as he comes out the final corner, will bring home P2 with a brilliant drive from the back of the AM Class of that mistake at turn 1 on lap number 1. He comes home P2 when all is said and done, the AM Class P9 overall, and it will be to Craig Parks to round off the AM podium in a great final drive for the Motus driver. And then Danny Kimball, who's got a bit of a way to go, yet he is only making his way down to turn number 10 right now. He will be the last of the drivers who finishes on the lead lap. He will be P11. That is P4 in the AM class in the end. We've already had Tony Tran classified as finished because he was a lap down the leaders. He was P12, P5 in the AM class, and Albert Brand in P6 AM class, P13 overall. Stefan Shalafu, P7 AM class, P14 overall. But as Kimball takes to the finish line here, and he crosses that line very shortly. A difficult day for Kimball, but he still kept his head down and got on with it and got some results in the end. We also had the two retirements of Justin Bragan and Lee Porter, but my goodness, in the end, what a race. And well, for Landry, what a season it has been. The British Touring Car Cup eluded him, and with a lot of pressure from the Goldwing Motorsports Pro team all the way through, but in the end he has been able to pick up 2 cups to his name, plus also that Drivers' Championship crown in the Pro Class as he makes his way on down, and I think he will be very, very pleased with how it has all gone. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for us to confirm your Cup and Championship winners. So as we can see here, it is the case that after all the calculations have been made, that our Japanese Cup winners in the end, after 3 rounds of racing, starting off at Tsukuba, then we went, of course, to Okayama International, and then we finished off here today at Twin Ring Motegi. It was, in the Pro Class, Jason Landry in the number 5 car who took the win, and in the AM Class, Edwin Offray in the number 299 car. Congratulations to the pair of them for their fantastic performances, and in the end, both of them are nailing it where it mattered most, especially in the season finale. And they'll be picking up, of course, their monetary prize, and we'll come on to that a little bit later on. Now, meanwhile, we need to take a look at the Drivers' Championship standings come the end of the season. And we start off with the Pro Class. And what we can see here is that with all the results tallied, plus the drop scores as well, that at the end, Jason Landry is your champion on 189 points in the end. In the end, beating Austin Farr to the post, with Austin Farr finishing runner-up on 156 points. A brilliant season, though, to be fair, from the pair of them. And Jason Landry, in the end, just that consistency across all the rounds. And whilst it didn't quite work out in the British Touring Cup, he picked up good enough results that he could afford the drop round, particularly at Alton Park, where it all went wrong and the car went into the wall, and that was effectively a late retirement or a late loss of points in the race. But in the end, Austin Farr really the best of the rest there, with that great set of performances all the way through. And then Henry Morse, the third place driver there on 133 points, beating Tanner Dibble by 10 points. Conrad Makow and Sam Vanolst Vanolst, both not participating tonight, and they end their seasons P5 on 107 points apiece. Nothing between the two of them. Rocker off at P7 in the end on 101. Jordan Butler P8 on 92 points, and he's probably wondering what could have been today if he had not made that mistake at turn number 8. John Low's on P9, and then Thomas Toomey on 61 points, completing your top 10, finishing only 1 point ahead of John Wilding in the end in P11. Eric Nickens P12, Daniel Downing P13, Tristan Bayliss P14, Ben Rose P15, and Adam Day, last but not least, in P16. Meanwhile, we can see that I think that might be a slight error in the instant count, although we do have to keep in mind that we do have a drop round for Jason Landry. The drivers there are highlighted in green under their instant count and races completed are eligible to be entered into our raffle, so they completed at least 8 of the 9 rounds, and also I believe they're eligible for the instant count championship, and I believe Landry does have the lowest number of instants of all of our drivers, but I'm not 100% sure whether 18 is correct or not, given he went into this round with 26. Unless he picked up a huge number of instances in one round in particular. But still, we'll keep that in mind as we do head to our AM class standings, and we can see here in our extended AM class, Edwin Offred, after 9 rounds, is your champion on 167 points in the end, finishing 17 points clear of Duncan Moraes, and the absence of Duncan Moraes due to personal circumstances in the end, giving Offred an open opportunity to take away that championship, and he seized it with both arms with the win at Ring Motegi, and in the end Alberto Alvarez on 136 points. And the absence of Alberto Alvarez in the final rounds was a major blow, of course, to that freeway championship fight. And Alvarez, I do wonder if he was able to make the Japanese Cup rounds, whether he would have been right up there at the very end. Of course, Moraes and also Onofre coming on very strong towards the end of the season. We saw Onofre in particular in the British Touring Car Cup just seemingly infallible. Moraes saying at the end of the British Touring Cup, no, it's not just your show, I'm going to come back strong in the final round, and also going into the Japanese Cup. Congratulations to those three. Jermaine Warren in the end, P4 and 126 points. A great campaign from Jermaine Warren, and really the best of the rest there, with Fernando Takahashi in P5 and 103 points. Danny Kimball P6 on 89, 1 point ahead of Craig Parks. Tony Tran P8 on 83. Justin Bragan P9 on 80, and then P10 on 79 points. Albert Brand finishing only 3 points clear of Mark Senegal there in P11. Stefan Chalafu in P12, he finished on 73 points with a good gap to Lee Porter in P13, Ronnie Felker P14, Roger Ganesh P15, and then Jackie Chu and Matthew Shepka both P16, while Gus Blundell finishing P18 overall, Patrick Brady P19, Lucas Lagos P20, and outside the top 20 but not to be uncounted for, Christian Jasper, Jeff Destino and Mason Roach, and then unranked as he was unable to participate in any of the rounds, Paul Bacchus there in what is the unranked position of P24. Meanwhile, in the instant count tally, we can see there 5 drivers eligible to be entered into that, given the fact they competed in 8 rounds or more, and also for our raffle. And it is the case that by a reasonable margin of 8, yep, it is a case of 8 instant points. It is Edwin Offred who takes, as I believe, it'll be the crown in the AM class. I think that's also the crown overall in terms of the instant count championship. But we will confirm that very shortly to you, ladies and gentlemen, as we do see. And we actually, well, we have had it in the YouTube chat there from Jason Landry himself to say that that 18 is correct with regards to the instant count for Jason Landry. Well, as we do look over to our overall championship winners, we did have it confirmed to us in writing between the race and now that our championship winners, of course, would be Jason Landry and Edwin Offred, as we just covered. And Edwin Offred has been awarded the championship win for the overall instant count. So there may be a little bit of a question around that, although to be fair, Offred went absolutely superb set of drives, so either way you cut it, whether it was Landry or Offred, both deserved. And then we can see, and in terms of other championship winners here, it is the case in the team championship. We do have the winner of Delta Motorsports in the end. We've had it confirmed that Delta Motorsports took the championship win, albeit there's no prize for the team championship win. It is the case that they took that win, and they consisted of Jason Landry, Rocker Avath, and also Conrad Makow. And we can see in the series participation raffle prize wins, it is the case we had 2 winners there, both in the AM class, Tony Tran in the number 288, the 228 car, and also Fernando Takahashi in the 223 car, both of the AM class drivers. And then as we look to our prize winners summary, so who won what and what did they get for it? Of course, it's always nice to know. We'll go through with our driver who picked up the most prizes overall in terms of scale and work our way downwards. And we start off with Edwin Offred, our AM driver in the number 299 car. For finishing first in the Drivers' Championship in the AM class, he picked up an invite to the 2022 Race of Champions event. Also, he picked up a case, and we should tell you that our prize pool in terms of cash prizes was doubled due to donations to the series, which we're absolutely grateful grateful for. And thank you to all those of you who did donate over the course of the season. We really do appreciate it. It meant that we could increase our prize pool. It was the case at $10 for winning the British Touring Car Cup in the AM class, also $10 for winning the Japanese Cup in the AM class, and also, albeit we have now found out slightly erroneously, but I think it'll be worked out behind the scenes, $20 for the overall instant count championship in the end. Meanwhile, in the pro class, Jason Landry there has received an invite to the 2022 Race of Champions event for finishing first in the Drivers' Championship in the pro class, albeit this will be passed to the fourth place finisher in the Drivers' Championship in the pro class due to the fact that Jason Landry is an administrator for this series, and as a result, whilst he will have a major role in the Race of Champions event by default, and I believe he may get an invite by default, I'm not 100% sure on that, we would like to pass that invite down to the next available driver who does not have admin status. That will be going to our fourth place finisher in the pro class, and we'll come on to them a bit later. Landry has also picked up $10 for winning the America's Cup in the pro class, and also for winning the Japanese Cup in the pro class. He picks up a further $10, so 20 in total. Austin Farr, meanwhile, the pro driver there in the number 69 car, picking up an invite to the 2022 Race of Champions event for finishing second in the Pro Drivers' Championship, and also $10 for winning the British Touring Car Cup in the pro class. And then the rest of our prize winners we can see here. Alberto Alvarez, the number 216 car in the AM class there, picking up the invite to the 2022 Race of Champions event for finishing third in the Drivers' Championship in the AM class, and also $10 for winning the America's Cup in the AM class in that dominant form that we saw in the opening 3 rounds. Henry Morse in the number 93 car, the pro driver there, picking up an invite to the 2022 Race of Champions event for finishing third overall in the Drivers' Championship in the pro class, and Duncan Moraes for finishing second in the Drivers' Championship AM class will pick up an invite as well. The AM driver will, and then we can see Tanner Dibble in the number 22 car, the pro driver there, because he finished fourth in the pro class of the Drivers' Championship, will pick up that invite for the 2022 Race of Champions event, given the fact that it has been passed down from a series admin. And then we can see Tony Tran there picking up $20, the AM driver in the 228 car, for being our first winner of the series participation raffle, and also Fernando Takahashi there, the AM driver, picking up $20 as well, the number 223 driver, for being the winner number 2, that is, of the series participation raffle as well. For that is all of our prizes summarised, and congratulations to all of our prize winners, and indeed, whether a driver won a prize or not, congratulations to all of our drivers who took part in the series and really made it what it is. But at the same time, what that does mean, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, whether you tuned in for the season finale tonight and only tonight. Alternatively, you've been tuning in all the way through the season. I think you'll all agree it has been a cracking series, fantastic racing through and through, and it was all brought to you by us at the Middle of the Pack Racing League community. And if you want to know more about us, why not check us out, our official Discord or Twitter, links available there. And I guess the question is, what lies ahead in next time? Is there a next time? Do you have to wait for 2023? Well, I can tell you don't quite have to wait for 2023, because it will be the case that the Middle of the Pack Racing League will be doing a NASCAR series, and that will be coming to a broadcast near you in late May 2022. It's not too far away. We're in the middle of April right now. It is going to be only about a month and a half away before we do NASCAR, and well, we'll be bringing that to you and more details on that in the near future. And if you are interested in looking to sign up or looking to get involved, be sure to get in touch with the Middle of the Pack Racing League community using those links we showed you earlier in the broadcast, because sign-ups will be opening in the near future. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for the time being. We have been the Middle of the Pack Racing League. I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh. It has been my pleasure to bring you the series from start to finish. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, but most importantly, as always, remember to stay on track. Good night.